Hello everyone, I'm Evina. Today our group will take you through one of the world's most inspiring conservation stories, the Apo Island Marine Reserve in Philippines. Before we dive into the case, let me quickly explain what Community-Based Natural Resource Management or CBNRM actually means. CBNRM is a simple but a powerful idea where local people, not just government, should be the one who managing and protecting the natural resource that they depend on. Because if anyone going to protect the reef, it should be the people who live right next to it. There are four main principles of CBNRM. The first one is participation, where the community voicing out and act as the protector of natural resource. Second is local control, where the community make and enforce the law. The third is fair benefits, where the money and the other gains are equally shared among the community. Lastly is sustainability, where people using the resource without damaging it for the future generation. Alright, now let's see how this principle came to life in the Apo Islands. Therefore, I will hand it over to Vivian to introduce the case. Thank you.
Thanks, Alvina. I'm Vivian. So, let me give you some background. Apo Island is a very tiny volcanic island in the Philippines. It's only about 1 square kilometer in size. It sits in the Bohol Sea, about 7 kilometers from the larger Negros Island. Around it lies 1.6 square kilometers of beautiful fringing coral reef. For generations, the roughly 1,000 residents have relied completely on this reef for food, for income, for everything. So when the reef suffer, the community suffer too. That brings us to the problem. Elizabeth, will you explain what went wrong?
Thank you, Vivian. My name is Engelbert Jr., and by the late of 1970s, the reef was on the edge of total destruction. The root cause was destructive fishing. Fishermen were using dynamite, cyanide poison, and method called muroami that smashed rocks onto the coral. A 1996 report put it bluntly: the 100 fishing families had dynamite and overfished the surrounding coral reef almost to depletion. The result was a vicious cycle of poverty. Fishermen had to travel 30 kilometers just to find a few small fish. Food and income collapsed. The island had no electricity, no clean water, no school, no other jobs. Children saw no future. The community felt completely helpless. So, who was involved in the crisis and who helped turn things around will be explained by Jess.
Thanks, Gilbert. I'm Josepha. Let me identify the key players. First, the local fishing community that were the most affected. Second, the government of Darwin municipality that had the legal power to create protected area. Third, Silliman University, scientists and social workers who provide education and clinical helps. And later, the National Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, also become involved. So, how did they move from crisis to action? Silliman University scientists and social workers actually lived on the island for 3 years. They held meeting after meeting, explained how the reef ecosystem worked, and showed that a no-take sanctuary could bring the fish back. Slowly, the community began to trust the idea. They realized that if they did nothing, their future was gone. So, they decided to take charge themselves. What exactly did they do in 1982?
Thank you, Jessica. I am Jenny. In 1982, the community voted to create 14-meter no-take sanctuary that about 10% of the total reef. The formerly banned dynamite, cyanide, and muroami fishing. This small protected area became a safe zone where fish could grow and reproduce without any disturbance. What resources are they managing? The whole coral reef ecosystem, the fish, the coral, the clean water. The sanctuary covers about 11 hectares. The surrounding area is a managed fishing zone where any traditional non-destructive methods like hook and line are allowed. This way, the community gets both a healthy environment and a suitable fishery. But how does this actually work on the ground? Firdaus will walk you through the co-management system.
Thanks to Jenny, I'm Muhammad Firdaus Hakimi. This slide show how co-management work in daily life. The community doesn't just protect the reef, they also monitor it. With help from Suleiman University, local volunteers learn simple methods like counting a fish and checking the coral health. They share the result with the whole village, and the benefits are shared too. User fees from tourists and divers are collected. A large portion of that money goes back to the community for the scholarship, guardhouse maintenance, and small community project. The message is clear. Conservation creates economic value. A healthy reef attracts tourists and the community earn an income. Now it sounds like a perfect story, but there are real challenges. Manisa will discuss them.
Thank you Firdaus, and my name is Manisa. Let me explain two major governance challenges with first, centralization. In 1994, the national government declared Apple Island a protected area under the NIPAS Act. Management shifted from the community to a state-led board called the PAMB. And a 2010 study by HIN and colleges found that this change excluded local people from decision making, local ownership and trust dropped, and community-based enforcement become weaker. The lesson, poor top-down governance does not work. Second, the jetty port conflict at 2024 until 2025, which local government proposed building jetty inside the strait protection zone without proper environmental permit or community consultation. And the DENR issued a cease and desist order, and the community strongly opposed it. This showed an ongoing tension between economic development and environmental protection. That is about economic, social, and environmental, which is the first its challenges are economic, which is unequal tourism benefit. A 2022 study by Bernardo found that 50 to 60% of tourism revenue go to outside business, while the local community receive only about 26 to 32%, and this has caused real resentment. Second is social challenge, which is tourism pressure and conflict, because more tourists mean more boat, more diverse, more pressure on the reef. Conflict between fisher and dive operator also have increased. And lastly is about environmental threat, which is climate change. In 1998, while El Nino even caused severe coral bleaching. It's about 90% of the dominant coral species bleach and many died. More recently is a typhoon have caused massive damage in some area. Coral damage reached in around 90% and fish number dropped by half. So yes, the reef has recovered remarkable, but it faces serious threat. Now, what has been the actual impact? Both good and bad.
Thanks to Manisa, I am Severanges Anale. Let me share the impact starting with the environment and the economy. The positive impact of the environmental is fish biomass increased about 7 times. The reef now hosts over than 650 fish species and over than the 400 coral species. The century produce lavas that help restore a nearby reef. The positive impact of the economy is tourism create alternative livelihoods such as boat guides, cottage worker, and souvenir seller. The community reduce its dependence of fishing, and a study estimates that every peso invested in the centuries return that 4.6 peso in the benefits. but they are also have a negative impact on the slide. Climate related bleaching and typhoon continue to damage the reef. Unequal benefit distribution reduce local economic gains. Now, I want to present a second part of the impacts. This is the social and the governance downside impacts. Law of community empowerment. After the local community was excluded for a key decision in 2010 paper called this wrong turning. The other trust the voluntarism. The second is social conflict. An event tourism benefit have created tension between local user and outside life operator. Reduce compliance. When people don't feel respected, enforcement becomes harder. The PDF note that decline in local ownership and trust lead to reduced effectiveness of community and base of enforcement. The next is a new development trend. The jetty port proposal show that even a famous reserve must constantly fight against poorly planned project. So, despite the amazing environmental recovery, the social and the governance negative impact are just as important to learn from that dream. From that brings us me to the final lesson. Khan will wrap things up. Thank you.
Alright, so let me make a quick conclusion for this Apollo Island in Philippines case study. So throughout the case study, we get to know that co-management is important. With the involvement of community with government together in protecting its natural resources, it can be a really effective way. So maybe I will make some suggestion to Malaysia policymakers that we can adapt a similar strategy too. But most important thing, the benefit must be fairly distributed. For example, the revenue from tourism sector must distribute equally to community, to Malaysian citizens, since we also involved in it. And also, climate change is really a big issue. No single human can avoid it. Every human should take actions and responsibilities together. And I think that's all from us. Thank you for listening to a long presentation. Thank you.